Be prepared for something new. Everyone is different. So are you. Stay straight. No masquerades. Do things that you'll remember. You can push too far, but stay fair. Stay on track. Give it your all. Get to the bottom of things. Decide what's right. Don't believe in what the others do. Find it out for yourself. Be close to it all. Bring your heart along. Follow your goals. Reach for the stars. Turn the weekend into the loudest party of your life. Are you prepared?
Hello everyone and welcome to the Moscow Raceway. It is the second half of the DTM season 2017 and we're very thrilled to get the 10th race started. The leader of the championship is René Rast, and just with a few points behind is Lukas Auer. Lukas, yesterday in qualifying you were P14, today you're P12. Qualifying, it seems like you're struggling a little bit, but then in the race you always manage to collect real good points.
Yeah, let's see what happens today. No, but the race is long, a lot of things can happen. We have clever people on the strategy, and yeah, clean start, good first lap, and then hopefully some points.
But is there anything you're struggling with, that the qualifying is never that good?
No, it's just in particular, normally it's the other way around. In qualifying very strong, it's just this weekend I seem to struggle with new tires.
All right, well, but best luck for the race. Thank you very much, Lukas Auer. And now before we get racing, let's have a look back at yesterday's race.
So the first race of the weekend got underway yesterday with René Rast inheriting pole position after Marco Wittmann received a 5-place grid penalty. Got the lead straight away. Mike Rockenfeller tucked into second place, but it was further back where all the shenanigans and drama happened. Lukas Auer, you just heard from, one of the drivers sent way out wide as he had to avoid 2 and 3 abreast contact on the way to the first couple of corners, and there was more to come. Timo Glock rubbing shoulders with Matthias Eckstrom, and the championship leader at the time sent out wide and dropping 6 or 7 places down the road. Then this aggressive move between Rockenfeller and Farfus. Farfus squeezed, a bit of contact hitting the bollards. They were still running together as they came side by side out of the final turn. And eventually, Rocky holding his line, Rocky driving with a broken foot. The resulting contact left poor old Augusto Farfus with a puncture, which ruined his race. Into the pit stops then, lots of different strategies with drivers coming in as early as lap 1. And Eckstrom was one of the drivers to try and something different with his tactics. There you see Marco Wittmann going side by side with Timo Glock. Marco coming back from 6th on the grid. Mike Rockenfeller had one of the best pit stops at 7.2 seconds. Only a couple went quicker. And then we had this battle between the two Germans. Wittmann eventually getting past Timo Glock. René Rast had a smooth pit stop at 7 seconds and led the whole first stint of the race. And had Mike Rockenfeller challenging him all the way through. Mike wasn't able to leapfrog him during the pit stop, but remained close. And in the second half of the race, he got closer and closer to the tail. There was a battle for third. Robert Wickens had got through in the Mercedes from 11th on the grid into the final podium spot. But then this move from Marco Wittmann, a previous winner here at the Moscow Raceway, to snatch the place back, making it a BMW driver into the top 3. Audis 1 and 2 though. Augusto Farfus's miserable race continued as he had to retire in the latter stages. He was already out of the points, but it was an Audi 1-2, and it was another win for René Rast, which propelled him into the championship lead. Mike Rockenfeller within a second the whole race through. In second place, his best result of the season. Marco Wittmann coming through from 6th to round out the podium. René Rast then, let's hear from him now, the championship leader.
And I'm here with the winner of yesterday's race, René Rast. He won the race, he was in the championship, and today he's starting in P3. So that's looking very, very good. Are you just enjoying the moment, or you're already feeling a bit of pressure regarding the championship title?
No, right now I'm just enjoying the moment. It's my first year, my rookie year, and actually there's not a lot of pressure. I mean, no one is expecting me to win the championship in my outright year. So for now I'm just enjoying the moment, and so far I think we're doing a good job in qualify always. And yeah, the race is always a bit, you know, sometimes you need a bit of luck, but yesterday was a good race. Today it's going to be a bit more difficult, I think, but yeah, anyway, we hope for some solid points.
More difficult? Why? I mean, you're also starting in P3.
Yeah, there's a BMW in front of us. Yesterday there was no one in front of us, so that's why I think it's going to be a bit more difficult.
All right, push hard. Thank you very much, René Rast, and now to you.
Thanks very much, Verena. Right, the big news of the build-up to the race is that Tom Blumquist, who qualified on pole position, has been excluded. So Bruno Spangler picks up his first pole position since Norris Ring 2015. Alongside him, Matthias Eckstrom, Road 2. René Rast, you just heard from him, and Paul de Resta is starting in 4th place for Mercedes. Timo Glock and Marco Wittmann had a good wheel-to-wheel battle yesterday. They're side-by-side again, 5th and 6th on the grid. Row 4, Maxime Martin, much stronger qualifying than yesterday, and Loic de Vowel will be well pleased in these rookie season to be up there in 8th. Gary Paffett and Robert Wickens promoted to 9th and 10th positions. Augusto Farfus needs a good result. He's 11th. Lucas Auer needs a good result to stay in the championship fight in 12th. Nico Muller and Mike Rockenfeller next up, 13th and 14th. Mike not quite so high up as he was in yesterday's qualifying session. Jamie Green should have been in the top 10, but picked up a 5-place grid penalty. Edo Mortara lines up alongside him. Maro Engel 17th. And then I'm afraid Tom Blomqvist, excluded, is going to be starting in last place. So Bruno Spangler on pole. He's speaking to Verena.
Yeah, Bruno, it's always nice to be on P2 and then because of the penalty with Tom Blomqvist to slide up to the front and be pole position. So are you ready to ace the race?
For sure, it's nice to slide up front, but I mean, it was very unlucky for Tom. He did a great job in quali, and it's just bad luck for him. Now, for sure, it's nice to start on pole. I will give my very best. We had a good car this morning in quali. Team did a great job improving the car through the weekend. So now I'll give my very best and see. You know, I think the 2 cars behind me are very, very quick on the race distance. And yeah, we'll see what they do during the race. But I'll give my very best and focus on my race and try to finish as far up front as I can.
All right, thank you very much and best of luck for the race, Bruno, and back to you.
So Bruno Spangler, who picked up his first win for 4 years since the Red Bull Ring 2013, just a few weeks ago with a victory at the Norris Ring. There you can see Mike Rockenfeller with this broken metatarsal in his left foot, which we've talked about all weekend, which hasn't stopped him from getting his best qualifying of the year so far yesterday, and his best result of the year so far yesterday as well. But it might be a bit tougher for him today from where he is on the grid. Watch for potentially as Nico Muller gets sprayed down to keep him cool. A much hotter day today than it was yesterday. Watch potentially for some early pit stops, maybe from Rocky, because he's one of the drivers that has done that from lowly grid positions in the past. You have to have a mandatory stop, but you can take it when you like. Lucas Auer struggling a bit this weekend in qualifying, but he had a good race yesterday, despite, as you saw in the highlights, being pushed out wide on the first lap, the first couple of corners. He came back to finish in a strong 6th place for Mercedes. Mercedes, the heaviest cars, carrying an extra 10 kilograms compared to the Audis, an extra 5 kilograms compared to the BMWs. For every 5 kilograms, as you look at Augusto Farfus, who will be hoping that the second half of the season is far better than the first half of the season. He's had a real tough time, and a couple of times recently he's looked in good form, looked like he'll challenge for a podium, and something's gone wrong for him. But yeah, every 5 kilograms extra you carry with this performance weight system that have to balance out the 3 brands is worth around about 1/10 of a second a lap. So 10 kilograms is 2/10 slower. And bearing in mind, everybody was within 9/10 of a second of each other in qualifying this morning. It shows that it can make a massive difference to your performance. It's also not the easiest circuit in the world to overtake on around here. 3.9 kilometres long. By far the best opportunity is into turn 1, which is the quickest turn on the lap. They go into it at around about 210, 212 kilometres an hour. Drop down to 5th and still are carrying around about 170k as they go through turn 1. They'll use the DRS there. We saw some moves there, but you've got to get a good run coming out of the last turn, turn 15, which is at the end of a very long back straight. It's hard on the brakes, and you have to get a good acceleration out of there. Careful not to run wide, which drivers have been doing in both qualifying sessions and the races, and then get close enough to activate your DRS. Let's see what Marco Wittmann can do then. Very quick here all weekend long. One of the drivers that has won here at the Moscow Raceway in the past. We first came here in 2013. We've had some fantastic races. We're about to get our 8th race at the Moscow Raceway. So the 8th race for DTM at the Moscow Raceway since we first came here in 2013. And there is the starting grid with Bruno Spangler picking up pole position. Matthias Eckstrom with his best grid spot of the year so far. René Rast, who's moved into the championship lead, is 3rd. Paul de Resta and Timo Glock are up there in 4th and 5th. Marco Wittmann, the reigning champion, in the top 6 as well. And there at the very bottom, no time. He was fastest. He was provisionally on pole position, but Tom Blumquist excluded. And the reason he was excluded from qualifying was because he didn't have the required amount of fuel left in the tank for them to be able to measure. You have to have a kilogram of residual fuel left in the tank. He didn't have enough and therefore excluded. So rather than being on his 3rd pole position in DTM, his 2nd pole position of the year, Tom has to start at the back. And he has said on social media, well, that just about sums up my season. Pole position for an hour. Let's see what he can do from the back of the grid. Paul de Resta is another of the former champions, and there are 6 champions in the field. Let's see where the Scotsman can do from the 2nd row of the grid. Mercedes came through in the race yesterday. Ollie Fritz is speaking to Verena.
Ollie Fritz, now we talked to Lukas Auer earlier, and he was saying that in qualifying he's always struggling with the tires, but I guess it doesn't count for all of the team because Paul and P4 managed really well. So are you hoping that Lukas will at then least collect some important points again in the race?
Yes, of course, for the championship it's important that he gains a few points, but you know, in DTM everything can happen, and we just have to wait for the first few laps and then see where we are. I mean, with a reasonable qualifying, I have to say. Paul did a good lap. Yeah, Gary was in a good way, but then made a mistake. So the potential was in the car to be further up front, but in the end, yeah, it is like it is. We have to go from there, and we will do the best out of it.
Well, best of luck. Thank you very much, Ollie Fritz, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Good to hear from Ollie. Caught up with him this morning, and we were talking about Lukas Auer's opportunity to test a Formula 1 car at the Hungaroring, and he's very, very pleased for his young driver, who he said had a difficult first season in DTM, but has really developed. It's been great to see the development of the young Austrian, the nephew of multiple Grand Prix winner Gerhard Berger, of course, is overseeing things at DTM these days, and Lukas, the likeable, very modest young Austrian driver, a real championship contender this year. Update on the points then, following the points from qualifying. René Rast is on 100 points now. He's picked up 9 of those through qualifying. Lukas Auer just 5 behind. Matthias Eckstrom the same points on 95. Maxime Martin 78. Jamie Green and Mike Rockenfeller rounding out the top 6 in the championship standings. Jens Marquardt looks after BMW. Let's see if they can get somebody on the podium today. Verena is talking to Jens.
Yes, let's find out. Jens Marquardt, we've got Bruno in pole. Very unfortunate for Tom, but that's how it goes, I guess. And your best men, however, are in 5, 6, and 7. So do you have a good strategy to get, especially in looking at the championship, to getting them to the front?
Well, I mean, it's a tough race. I mean, we are on pole. That is already good. Would have been nicer to have Tom there as well, but there we had a little mishaps in fueling for qualifying. So with 4 cars in the top 6, 7, I think it's not a bad starting point. What we've seen yesterday, so many things can happen. So hopefully get cleanly through the first corner, then through the first 2 laps, and then manage the race properly, and we'll see. Hopefully, very interesting race for the spectators. I'm excited.
Oh, me as well. So best of luck. Thank you very much, Jens Marquardt. And now let's get racing. So back to you.
Thanks, Verena. It's actually the 4th time on the trot today that a BMW has been fastest in qualifying. Granted, Tom Blumquist is not going to start on pole. And the same thing happened yesterday. Marco Wittmann qualified fastest in a BMW, didn't get to start on pole because of penalty points picked up on his licence, meant that after 3 warnings, he had to drop at 5 places on the grid. In Marco's instance, he kept his points for qualifying on pole. In Tom's instance, because he's excluded, he doesn't get to keep those points. So that awarded 2nd, 3rd and 4th fastest in qualifying, not just bumping them up the grid, but also giving them an extra point each towards their total. Hence, René Rast on 100 points. And just to go back to Mercedes and Lukas Auer, yes, he's testing for Force India on the 1st and 2nd of August for half a day, sharing with Russian Formula 3 driver Nikita Mazepin. Half a day each in the Force India car, and Ollie Fritz saying that well deserved that, the opportunity that he is going to get. So maybe one day he might follow in the footsteps of Uncle Gerhard, who was no mean racing driver with McLaren, teammate to Ayrton Senna, with Benetton, amongst the other teams that he raced with, Ferrari, of course, as well. Twice 3rd in the championship, often a top 6 finisher in the championship, Gerhard Berger. So the cars lined up, all 18 of them, ready for a 55-minute plus 1 lap race here at the Moscow Raceway. What lies in store today? Things change every day in DTM. For example, yesterday, Paul di Resta was 16th on the grid. Today, he's got his best qualifying of the year. He's 4th on the grid. Yesterday, Mike Rockenfeller was at the front. Today, he's 2/3 of the way, in fact, almost all the way back down the grid. 15th spot on the grid. You're going to see some different strategies. Yesterday, we had 3 drivers that pitted at the end of lap 1. Paul di Resta was one of them. Edo Mortara and Maxime Martin did the same thing. We had another half a dozen or so drivers that pitted before the end of the 6th lap of the race. But actually, unlike some of the other races where drivers have opted to pit a bit later, by lap 15, everybody had made their pit stops. Mario Engel was the last one to come in and make a pit stop for his mandatory stop to change tyres on the 15th lap of the race. If you can split the race evenly, that's the best way forward, but it depends where you are on the grid. It depends on the circuit, and it depends what your championship situation is. So the car's being led around this Hermann Tilke designed circuit, which opened back in 2012. 18 different variations of the circuit. We've used different ones in the past here in DTM, but it's the longer 3.9 kilometre version that we are running. Lap record 1 minute 28.3 seconds, set back in 2014 by Miguel Molina. The race winner that day was Maxime Martin, picking up his first ever DTM win. Maxime I spoke to this morning, didn't have a very good day yesterday, but he's on good form coming into this event with 3 podiums on the trot, one of the winners at the Norris Ring a few weeks ago. And he was pretty confident that things will be much better today. His race pace was good. Qualifying didn't go that well. They couldn't quite hook the tyres up. It's a very narrow window to make those tyres work to their very optimum, he says, at this circuit. And if you can't quite get it, you're a couple of tenths off the pace, and that's the difference between being at the front and the back. Yesterday, they didn't nail it in qualifying. He tried an early pit stop. It didn't work for him, really. None of the early pit stoppers really gained much in the race. But he was confident that the race pace was good. Spent yesterday stuck behind Edo Mortara, but Maxime with a much better grid today. And don't forget, he is one of half a dozen championship contenders. So there is Jens Marquardt, head of BMW, as the grid forms up. The BMW of Bruno Spangler on pole position. Bad start to the season for the 2012 champion for Team RBM, but the results have started to come with that win at the Norris Ring. The green flag is waved at the back of the field. Spangler and Eckstrom on the front row. BMW versus Audi. René Rast, the championship leader, starts third. The revs rise. The V8 engines kick into life. We're racing here at Moscow. Eki with a good start. Spangler covers off the line, squeezes the Swede, and just about holds onto the lead from pole position. Di Resta with a great start. That's Maxime Martin going way out wide and losing almost all of the places. He's going to rejoin, I think, in dead last position. So at turn 1 again, there is drama, as there was yesterday. Eki gets a clean run through turn 2 this time, unlike yesterday. And he's there in second place, but Bruno Spangler had to really squeeze in. The Swede got a super start off the line. You could see Lucas Auer there trying to get in the mix as well. Apologies on the team radio, because you can hear it, but I can't, unfortunately, in the commentary box. So I'll try and pause, but I can't actually hear what they're saying. But I'll let you carry on with that. What a start from Spangler. He's now rocketing away, isn't he, in this second sector of the lap from Matthias Eckstrom. Pulled the rest up with a good start in third. René Rast dropping to 4th place. Marco Wittmann and Timo Glock, who had a good battle yesterday, running in 5th and 6th positions. Then Martin right at the back of the field. I talked about too much at the start of the race. The Belgian driver with a huge amount of work to do now, and this might just change his pit stop strategy, I suspect, with nothing really to lose now from the very back of the field. In fact, he's just gained a place on Edo Mortara in the pink Mercedes, having a tough season, albeit with a bit of a bright note with the podium finish that he picked up at the Norris Ring yesterday. Incident between Duval and Martin under investigation. So it's Loic Duval that made contact with him or squeezed him out wide. As into the pits, we have 4 cars coming in. And one of them is Marco Wittmann, the reigning champion. Duval comes in, Engel and Blumquist as well coming in. I suppose Tom Blumquist with nothing to lose, really. So those 4 cars make their way in as Spangler leads by 1.4 seconds at the end of the first lap of the race. Eckstrom and then Di Resta separated by half a second. Cars come in then for these mandatory stops. We've seen in other races at other circuits these tyres lasting. Wittmann gets out at the head of those making the early pit stops at the end of lap number 1. And who's going to get out behind him? Could be Duval. Possibly. It's going to be a tight squeeze. Looks like it is. Yeah. So Duval has come out second. And then it's going to be Engel, and Blumquist stays at the back of the queue, the fourth of the pit stoppers. So they rejoin at turn 2. Down at the far end of the circuit are the race leaders at the moment, down through turns 10 and 11. And about to complete the second sector and head on to this long 853-metre straight shortly. At which speed they get 245 kilometres an hour. With DRS, they get 260 kilometres an hour down this back straight before dropping down to first gear, slamming on the brakes and backing off to 77k. So onto the straight they come on the exit from turn 14 to move into sector 3. And once DRS is enabled, that could be a potential overtaking opportunity, although it's more about lining it up there and then having to go into turn 1. They scream into the corner, and just behind, look, Augusto Farfus trying to break up into the top 6 is just behind Robert Wicken's Mercedes. So they're 6th and 7th. That's the closest battle inside the lead group. Lucas Howard's had a pretty good start moving up to 8th. Paffett in 9th. Rockenfeller's had a really good start moving up into the top 10 as well. As we go on board with Lucas Howard, running out wide and taking some curb there as he tries to catch the gap up to the next car ahead, which is Augusto Farfus, but it's quite a big gap. He's also got Gary Paffett just behind him. There they are, the pair of them, Howard in the pink Mercedes, Paffett in the silver number 2 machine. The 2005 champion picking up a 7th place finish in the race yesterday, and currently running in the top 10 in the championship, but still searching for his first win of the 2017 campaign. His first win for a while, actually, but he keeps steadily picking up the points. And as we've seen from René Rast, a win or two here and there, and it really propels you up the championship. So Auer is the key man for Mercedes at the moment in terms of the championship. And Paffett didn't put up too much of a fight when Auer came up to him, apparently. Get to use DRS with 12 laps. Here's a replay of how it happened on board with Lucas Auer. And yeah, once he saw him coming, as you go back on board with Gary, that was into the final turn. That was not too hardly fought, that. And already Auer pulling away. So Auer with good pace in the races this weekend. As Verena said, qualifying hasn't gone that well for him. He hasn't been one of the best qualifiers this season, but through the races he's come on well. When he has qualified on pole, he's tended to win races. DTM is usually about winning 2 or 3 races and then just picking up points in all the others, being consistent, being a regular podium finisher. 0.9 of a second, the gap between the top 2. It's coming down slightly. There's Jamie Green in the orange 53 Audi, and on board, chasing him down, Maxime Martin, who is on newer tyres, but only by a lap, because he pitted at the end of lap number 1. There he is in the blue and white BMW as they make their way out through the end of sector 1, through the right of turn 3, the double left at 4 and 5, and then an S section leading on to a short back straight up towards turn 9, which is where the leader is now. Into the left at turn 9, over the brow. René Rast said it would be tough to win today. And at the moment, he's not on for a podium, but he is on for another good point-scoring finish. Robert Wickens was one of the stars of the race yesterday from 11th on the grid. He looked like he might get a podium for a while. He got past Marco Wittmann, and then Marco got him back in the final 10 minutes or so of the race. But Robert still with a good 4th place finish and due a bit of luck. He's had quite a bit of bad luck this season, as Rob, when it all comes together for him, he's proven time and again that he is a capable, more than capable race winner. But you need a bit of consistency and you need a bit of luck in DTM. So there are a long line of DTM cars strung out down this back straight, led by Bruno Spangler. Hadn't won in 4 years until 3 weeks ago. Could he get 2 wins in 2 race meetings? He is back on form. Not that he ever has been off form, really. It's just so competitive in DTM, as 1 or 2 run out wide in the background, that it's very easy to, even though you're a really good driver, we know how strong Bruno is, it's very easy to slip back down the pack. Right, let's have a look at a replay of the start now. Eki on the right in the Red Bull liveried Audi. Got a great run off the line. Bruno knew it and covered it off and squeezed him on the way towards turn 1. Just about held on to it. Look for Luc Duval as well. And what he does with Maxime Martin, Loic in the green and blue Audi. So there they go into turn 1. He's almost into the back of Glock. Actually, I think he had to hit the brakes to avoid running into the back of Timo Glock, got out of shape, and that was where he then forced Maxime Martin out wide. Maybe a bit of contact, but I don't think that looked like it was a deliberate move. That looked like it was him just trying to get out of the way, but that's for the stewards to decide. On board with Eki then, from the replay. Look how close he got to the wall. Bruno was determined that he wasn't going to give pole position up. There is Loic locking up and just clipping, I think, the back of Maxime Martin, which was enough to send him out wide on the run, the exit through turn 1. Out he goes. Look how much room there is, luckily. Got Green and Muller going out wide as well, but to a far lesser extent as they try to gain positions from lowly grid spots. They work their way into turn 2 then. Back live. 5 laps done, and Bruno Spangler leading the race. There's a yellow flag in turn 9, and this is the reason why Maxime Martin's brakes on fire there. Maxime's race is run. He's out of the car, the Belgian, the ex-GT racer, and from being a championship leader, from being in the top 3 of the championship coming into the weekend, it's been a very disappointing visit to Moscow, a circuit that has served him well in the past. He's trying to beckon the attention of the marshals to get the fire extinguisher to the car. And he's doing it himself in the end. Maxime, a very, very experienced driver. And he now sees the potential danger and leads the charge. The marshals now joining in with extra fire extinguishers. But that was smart stuff, actually, from Maxime Martin. He doesn't want any damage to his car, and he doesn't want any dangerous situation to occur. So the marshals now there attending to the scene as well. And this is going to bring, potentially, the safety car out. The safety car boards are being held out on the start-finish line, overlooking, which I overlooked from the commentary box. And yes, the graphic now confirms it. DRS disabled, safety car out, pit lane shut. And this is going to bunch them all up even more. Not that it was essentially that well spread out. It's still very, very close in these early stages of the race. Good news for those, of course, that have made their pit stops already, because that, what, half a lap that they lost when they came in to make their pit stops, they have now completely gained back. So they're still running at the back of the queue, but they are with their pit stops out of the way. And this is something we saw in the Hungaroring, something that works to the benefit of drivers there, with Paul Di Resta winning the race. Race 1 from, what was it, 13th on the grid, made an early pit stop, got it out of the way, and he was up there right on the back of the queue. Everybody else had to make their pit stop, and eventually those 4 moved through. So you can expect, I think, a good result now for Wittmann, Duval, Engel, Blumquist. They're the 4 that pitted at the end of lap number 1. That is always one of the potential advantages of pitting early. The disadvantage is that you've got to make your tyres last for the whole race once you pit that early. So I'm going to get a replay now, and this is Maxime going straight on. I think the brakes had gone, hadn't they, by the looks of it? Something had failed on the car, and there was no way he was getting through that corner. On board with him now, turns in, but the car is all over the shop. He fights the wheel, kisses the barriers. He's okay, he's out of the car. But then, as soon as he got out of the car, he saw that it was on fire. And actually, when we talk about the Hungaroring and drivers coming into pit early and gaining from a safety car, at the Hungaroring, it was the same driver that had caused the safety car. So at Hungaroring, Maxime Martin had a problem, stopped on circuit, problem with the brakes, and that was what brought the safety car out. And it's the same driver that's brought about the situation here at Moscow. There was some debate as to whether he should have stopped on the circuit, whether he could have avoided that. It was a talking point, certainly amongst the press and the media at the Hungaroring. But looking at the way the car went off the road there and the brakes on fire, I don't think you can even consider anything else other than that being a genuine failure. But just coincidence, same driver. And, of course, Wittmann, his teammate, BMW, one of the ones to make the pit stops, was one of the ones that benefited as well at the Hungaroring. So Wittmann, Duval, Engel and Blomqvist, in that order, are the 4 that have made their pit stops and gained back essentially half a lap. Everybody else has still got to make a mandatory stop. We get, while we're behind the safety car, more chances to see that phenomenal battle between the top 2 off the line. Out wide, just the start of a bad race, really, for Maxime Martin. The orange Audi of Jamie Green going out wide at turn 2, not to as much of an extent. And then Eckstrom, this is where he came unstuck yesterday with Timo Glock, but able to survive this time. Right, while the safety car is out, Verena has caught up with Jens Marquardt.
Jens Marquardt, just a quick question. How can a fire just come like that? What happened there? The brakes on fire, or how did that happen?
Yeah, it looks like when Maxime was pushed off by Duval, when he came back onto the track, something got caught in the radiator and blocked it. And we saw some temperatures going up. And just before he stopped, he reported a long brake pedal, and he just lost the brake, and everything went on fire.
How does that happen?
no cooling.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jens Marquardt, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Good work to catch up there with the head of BMW and to get an insight into exactly what he knows from speaking and hearing from the driver over the radio. There's the shot as Martin went off. Absolutely no brakes, a long brake pedal, and the car just didn't slow down, did it? And then pretty soon after, it became apparent that the brakes were on fire. No cooling, some debris causing that to happen. It wasn't the heaviest hit. There's quite a big runoff area at that corner. And Maxime, smart thinking there to get involved with the extinguisher. Marshall's then wrestling with the BMW, careful. And Maxime is already on his way back to the pits. Race over, weekend over. A good run coming into Moscow. A circuit where he's normally very competitive and has been a race winner before, but not this weekend, I'm afraid. So this is the onboard. It was at turn 9. In he goes, turns, nothing, straight on. Car won't slow, through the gravel, into the barriers. End of race. Safety car is still out. The cars are just going past the commentary box just underneath the grandstand here. I'm on top of the grandstand overlooking the start-finish line, opposite side of the pits. And they're about to be led through turn 1. Bruno Spangler, the race leader. Of course, you can't pit during the safety car period. The safety car brings about the pit lane closure. So you can't come into the pits at this stage of the race. So in the box seats, no doubt about it, are those 4 that have got the pit stops out of the way. Hitman is 14th overall, Vowel 15th. And then Engel 16th, Blumquist in 17th. Blumquist, bad luck this morning. Could it turn into a bit of good luck today? I think many people, including Tom, would argue he's probably due a bit of good luck. And this might just be it for Tom. It's not going to be the first time this season that we have seen drivers winning races and getting up onto the podium from lowly grid positions. Seen it lots of times with this new system that we have with the pit stops this year. Marco Wittmann, who is one of the ones that have made a pit stop at Hockenheim, gained 14 positions. He went from 17th to 3rd. Bruno Spangler, who leads the race, has done something similar, 17th to 3rd at the Hungaroring. Di Resta won from 13th on the grid. That's the lowest grid spot for a race winner this year. And we've had others, Rockenfeller 16th to 3rd at Hockenheim, Eckstrom 17th to 5th at Hockenheim, Glock 14th to 2nd at the Hungaroring. So only 4 times this year, including yesterday, as the driver that started on pole position managed to win the race. And Bruno Spangler now, and everybody else in that queue directly behind him, up against it, because essentially Wittmann, Duval, Engel and Blomqvist have all had a free pit stop. So the safety car lights are out. You can see that he's bunching them up. They're just making their way down this long back straight towards turn 15. The safety car will peel off into the pit lane, and we'll have this new 2x2 IndyCar style restart, which caught Jamie Green out in terms of him getting a penalty earlier on in the season, although it didn't stop him winning the race that day. One of his 2 race wins. So Bruno Spangler leading the bunch cars on the way into turn 15, ready for the DTM race to get back underway. Just under 40 minutes plus 1 lap left on the clock. Paul Di Resta is right underneath the rear wing of Bruno Spangler in the white Mercedes in 3rd place, trying to squeeze out Matthias Eckstrom and then go into turn 1. Can he do it? Ecki is wise to it, keeps the car out wide and stays 2nd. Vowel is going out wide once again. He's not the only one. But everybody safely through the first turn on the restart. No real changes in position at the sharp end of the field. Good news potentially for Lucas Auer. He gets onto the tail of Augusto Farfus. He was a couple of seconds behind him before the safety car came out. Now he has a chance to move even further up the field. He's in 8th place currently. There is Mike Rockenfeller, right foot braking this weekend with this broken left foot that he has, fighting the wheel, on board with him now. A hero's effort yesterday, and he's in the points again today. He's in 10th place in the race at the moment, but this could all change when those pit stoppers start to move up the order, once everybody else comes in for their mandatory stops as the race wears on. It's going to be a fascinating second half of the race, this. And of course, the other advantage for those, including Tom Blomqvist, that have pitted early, not only have they got essentially a free pit stop, the pit stop out of the way, they've got to use their tyres for longer in the race. However, they've just saved a few laps behind the safety car, so there's going to be a little bit less wear on the tyres for them come the end of the race as well. On board with Matthias Eckstrom then, who led the championship coming into the weekend. He hasn't yet won in 2017, but is the most winning driver on the grid with 22 race victories. and one of the 6 champions. The cars scream then into the final turn, and Eckstrom is certainly within DRS striking distance of the race leader. So too Paul di Resta right behind him, and the Mercedes in third. It's BMW up ahead, and here is Lucas Auer right onto the tail of Augusto Farfus. They're going to go side by side. He's trying the outside line here. Augusto Farfus just about fends him off though in the Shell Oils car and holds on to what is 6th place rather. So Auer having a big go. Augusto Farfus determined to finally get a good result this season if he can. And they're at the back of the field, the 4 that have made their pit stops. Just one retiree, Maxime Martin, who brought out the safety car. Spangler, Eckstrom, di Resta, Glock, who's been quietly going about his business and picking up good points and good results this season, was 5th in yesterday's race there. He's in 4th place at the moment in the yellow BMW. René Rast down to 5th place then. So Glock getting through and gaining a place. That's the big move up at the sharp end of the field. Championship leader in 5th place, but still ahead of his championship rival, or his closest championship rival, Lucas Auer, who is there just behind him. Behind, though, another key rival, Matthias Eckstrom, who runs in 2nd place. So, again, this is going to be super tight when we work out the points at the end of the race, and we might even have a different championship leader. There is René Rast, 33. In this queue, cars 16, Glock and 33 Rast have to change position. Incorrect overtaking, so that is significant for not only the race but for the championship. So Glock is going to be instructed to let Rast back through, which he does straight away. Augusto Farfus gets as close as he can, but he's also got an eye on the mirrors because Lucas Auer is right behind as well in the pink Mercedes, and Rob Wickens in 8th place is poised to pounce. But look at Eckstrom going for the lead, picking up DRS and going through on the way to turn 1. Eckstrom leads, Spangler down at 2nd, and watch for di Resta as well, using their DRS now. They can use it for up to 12 laps in the race, but a great battle. Di Resta looking for his 2nd win of the season. He's looking in good form in this race, the Scotsman in the Mercedes. So it's Eckstrom, Spangler, di Resta. This is a replay of Eckstrom setting things up. There was actually a bit of contact there. I was keeping my eye on Rast coming past Glock, letting him back through. There was the contact. It started. He squeezed through, coming onto the start-finish straight. Crucially, he'd got the line. And then he just had to make sure with the DRS he could hold the line going into turn 1, which, of course, Matthias Eckstrom did. So through he went. Here it was, though. And just trying to get as close as he could, just clipped the back left corner of Spangler's BMW, sent him not too wide, but wide enough to create a gap. And Eckstrom then pulled off the move going into turn 1, or at least completed the move there. So that was happening at the same time that Glock was having to let Rast back through for 4th place rather. So there the replays, and already look, Matthias Eckstrom getting away from Bruno Spangler. Maybe even out of DRS range by the time they get onto the straight. It's been a very good lap this from the 2004 and 2007 DTM champion. 0.8 of a second is the difference, so not quite out of DRS distance. di Resta in 3rd place, Rast 4th, Glock 5th, Farfus in 6th place. More potential overtaking here on the way in with Marco Wittmann on the tail of Muller. Muller is an Audi driver, Wittmann is a BMW driver, and Muller will be serving all the other Audis, including Eckstrom at the front of the field, well, if he can hold up as long as possible and for as much as possible these 4 cars that have made their pit stop. So Muller with a rear gunner job to do here, trying to fend off Wittmann, Engel, Duval and Blumquist, and trying to create a gap for the other Audis and his teammates who have yet to make their pit stops. So Wittmann knows what he's got to do here, but this is not going to be easy. And you can see, look, the gap already starting to grow. So Muller with a job to do here to help out his teammates at Audi. Of course, he's also going to be helping out others that aren't with Audi, like Spangler in the BMW, like di Resta in the Mercedes. But it is an Audi man that leads the way, Matthias Eckstrom. Nobody else has pitted since we got back underway. Still just the 4 that came in at the end of lap number 1. And perhaps then the idea is to just build up as much advantage as you can and then come in a little bit later on in the race rather than coming in where everybody's still bunched up together after that safety car. Mike Rockenfeller just coming in 9th place into the left-hander, and Robert Wickens has come into the pits. Yes, Robert Wickens into the pits. So our 5th pit stop up. Pitted mid-race yesterday. And look there at Loic Duval, the former sports car racer, Le Mans winner, just defending from Tom Blumquist, who looks quicker at the moment, in the background, but the pair of them are fighting for 16th place currently, but it could potentially be a battle for the podium, that, once this all sorts itself out. So Robert Wickens is going to be a long way down on those four that have already made their pit stop. He's just being released from his pit box now, and these drivers are already making their way out of turn 8. So there's about a third of a lap that he's lost relative to the others that have made a pit stop. But of course, if there's another safety car, it changes again, doesn't it? And that would bring Robert back into the fray. The rate of attrition has been pretty low this weekend, though. We just had the two that didn't finish the race yesterday. Tom Blumquist was one of them, and the other was Augusto Farfus, and both of them were related to damage. So these 4-litre V8 DTM machines, apart from being very, very quick and impressive to look at, are also pretty bulletproof, pretty reliable, and very strong cars, as we saw at the Norris Ring, in terms of protecting drivers should there be an incident. And now pit stops are starting to come a bit thicker and a bit faster, because that is Bruno Spangler making his way in, and Lucas Auer following him into the pits. So Spangler has opted to come in early here, or relatively early. And now we've got Mike Rockenfeller behind Gary Paffett. Gary's gone through on Rocky. 6th place, that will be temporarily for the time being. Let's have a look at the pit stop for Bruno Spangler then. Anything under 7 seconds is excellent, and that is absolutely top-notch. 6.6 seconds. Lucas Auer is not quite as good, losing a second there. When they're only 1 or 2 tenths of a second apart in terms of their lap times, you lose a second. That can take you 4 or 5 laps to get back on the track, even if you're quicker than the man you're chasing down. So it shows how important it is to get a good pit stop. Where will they come out relative to Robert Wickens? Robert is just going into turn 1. I think I should still be ahead of him. And you can see Lucas fighting with the wheel here to just generate as much heat as he can in the tyres. We saw yesterday it takes almost half a lap to really get them to start gripping up. But it's a bit of a struggle. Initially at the Lausitz Ring, it was a real struggle for half a lap or so. And as Auer came into the pits, around the outside it was, going into the final turn. Great move from Gary Paffett. Probably, in fairness to Rocky, aided by the fact that Rocky's having to use his right foot to brake all the time, and he's carrying a broken metatarsal. But nonetheless, it was a brave move from Gary. Didn't have much room to breathe on the exit to the corner, but he got the Mercedes through. And that was the move for 6th place. More coming into the pits now. Timo Glock at the head of the queue. Augusto Farfus and Mike Rockenfeller are the next 3 to make their mandatory pit stops. Underneath, as they're coming in, underneath the commentary box and passing them already, Marco Wittmann and everybody else that came in at the end of lap 1. So you can see how they're going to slide their way up the order, and it could very well be that Marco Wittmann, once this all settles down, is the race leader. Depends what Nico Muller can do to hold him up, I suppose. Out they come. Rocky 7.4. Another good stop there from Team Phoenix. Timo Glock, though, a slow stop, has gone to the back of that queue. Look, 13.4 seconds. What went wrong? He lost 6 seconds or so there. He came in at the head of that trio. He's at the back of the trio now, and it's a tight squeeze here, but trying to get the tyres up to the temperature. Farfus cannot fight off there Bruno Spangler, so Bruno comes through relatively easily to get to the head of that group. And there Timo Glock, who lost time in the pits at the back of the queue. So of the ones that are pitted, as you can see on the graphic on the left of your picture, it's 8th downwards. That's with the green box, the ones that are pitted. The number in the green box tells you which lap they pitted on, and Wittmann is essentially, for my money, the leader of the race, because everybody ahead of him has got to go into the pits as Lucas Auer pulls off a daredevil move here up the inside of Mike Rockenfeller. Wow, that was determined stuff. And it was right on the ragged edge, but Lucas getting the Mercedes through. And Rocky losing another place here as into the pits comes Matthias Eckstrom. Ecki in and René Rast, the championship leader, comes in. So 2 championship contenders in, race leader in. A fight now between the pit crews. And there you can see where Spangler is and Farfus, who are the top 2 of the pit stoppers that came in after the safety car. Less crew to work on the cars. Ecki's already away, 7.4 seconds. René Rast, a slowish pit stop there at 10 seconds, I'm afraid. So good job done by Audi Sport Team Abt Sportsline. Ecki's advantage will be increased relative to René Rast, but where will he come out in the field here? just going to have to give up another place here. He's going to come out ahead of Farfus, but he's going to come out behind Spangler. And Farfus has got Lucas Auer on his case as well, which might just help out Eki as he gets his tyres up to temperature. So Wittmann up to 6th place overall now. Engel 7th, Duval 8th, Blumquist 9th. But they are surely going to be the top 4 once it all sorts itself out, unless something very unusual or another safety car perhaps comes out of the rest of them. Eckstrom and Spangler then in this fight. René Rast losing out and now having to defend a little bit here from Augusto Farfus and from Lucas Auer. They've got their tyres already up to temperature. Can Augusto get his best result of the season here? Locking up a wheel there. Going into the left-hander is René Rast in the number 33 Audi. He's really coming under pressure, under scrutiny now from the Brazilian, who in turn has got an eye on the mirrors to keep the Austrian Lucas Auer behind him. If he goes for a move here, Farfus, he's going to be absolutely committed to it, because if he has to back off out of the move, Auer's going to pass him, and there's a bit of a queue forming up behind the pair of them as well, with Rockenfeller not too far back either. And Robert Wickens also in the mix. Here comes Augusto Farfus. It's going to be 3 abreast here. Auer to the inside. Can he do it? They all lock up. Farfus goes out wide, coming out of the last turn. Auer gets to the head of the field. René Rast is being squeezed here. Rocky's got a place as well. Wickens comes through. Farfus has gone to the back of the field. And Auer gets to the head of the pack. He is driving like a champion, isn't he, at the moment, Lucas Auer? That was a fantastic move to add to the fabulous move he pulled off a lap ago. Absolutely breathtaking stuff. There was no room for error there. 3 fitted into 1. Not without contact, I don't think, but that was proper raw racing. Fantastic stuff here at the DTM. And that's what I mean, Farfus. If he pulled off a move, he had to be absolutely nailed on. He had to get it right, because they were so close behind. If he got it wrong, they're always going to lose positions. And the outside line he tried, that left the door open. And Auer did not need a second invitation. Breathtaking racing, and Auer's absolutely flying in this race. Bearing in mind Mercedes are the heaviest cars, they've got really good race pace, haven't they? Makes you wonder how quick they'd be if everybody had the same performance weight. Paul de Resta now from the 3rd place comes into the pits. Here's a replay. Whoa, Rast squeezed him, had to get out of the way, then clipped Farfus, who's always at risk on the outside. A huge lockup from Lucas Auer. Farfus runs out of road, just has to pause on the throttle, so through comes Rockenfeller straight away. On board Lucas Auer, he couldn't have got any closer here. Trying to get at the inside, there's another car in the way. He's almost on the grass as he comes through, but once he made the decision, he had to stick to the move. Just a clip of Rast as he came through, and Rast then was cannonballed into the side of Farfus. And Farfus will feel unlucky at that, but as I say, when you're on the outside line, you are always at risk. You're the man on the edge of the ledge. Wow, Mercedes enjoyed that, I think. It's going quite well, this race so far for Mercedes. And at the moment, Gary Paffett for Mercedes is the race leader. Jamie Green, 2nd. Then Edo Mortara, near the back of the field, is 3rd. And Muller in 4th place, Nico Muller. However, they have all yet to pit. They're the 4 that haven't pitted yet. Will they leave it as late as possible? It depends really what the lap times do now. If they continue to pull away from those behind, they might as well stay out. If the tyres start to degrade and they lose time, they're going to have to come in. But they want to push it, I think, this window as long as they can. Meanwhile, albeit they haven't had their pit stops yet, we've got a good battle for the lead of the race, because coming into the last turn, Jamie Green getting very close to the tail of Gary Paffett. They go to the start-finish straight, and that is within 0.3 of a second now as they cross the line. Rast is getting a warning for pushing another car. If you get 3 black and white warning flags during the course of the season, every time you get 3, you pick up penalty points and a 5-place grid position for every 3 that you get, which is why Marco Wittmann didn't start the race on pole yesterday. It's why Jamie Green didn't start as he could have today. He got a 5-place grid penalty added onto his time from, or his position from qualifying. Eki flying, De Resta, while all that was going on, has come out ahead of Spangler, so he gained effectively a position during the pit stop window there. And Spangler is 3rd in the group now. So he's the one that's just lost out a bit. It wasn't a bad pit stop, but it was a good pit stop and a good in and out lap, I think, from Paul de Resta. There they go into the right-hander at turn 3 in front of the grandstands. Lots of enthusiastic fans there watching out of the left at turn 3 into turn 4. 2nd gear now, around about 80, 85 kilometres an hour. A bit of undulation on the circuit as well as they drop down through the S's and onto the straight leading up to turn 9, which is where Maxime Martin's race ended and brought about the safety car, which has changed the face of this race. 23 minutes to go. We're into the second half of the second race of the weekend here at Moscow Raceway. Chris Hartley here, trackside, talking you through what has been so far a fabulous race, full of intrigue. Matthias Eckstrom is really quick in these conditions. He's got fresh tyres on and he's catching huge amounts at the moment. He's on a real charge, so we'll keep an eye on Eki, who in the Audi is putting in some very, very strong lap times here, trying to get himself back into the mix. Now it's Marco Wittmann, who is still stuck behind Muller, of course. Now Muller is backing them all up, so Muller still has a job to do. I suspect he's going to be the last to pit stop here because he tried to back them up earlier. He's still backing them up. Marco Wittmann still hasn't found a way through. Muller's got to go into the pits at some point, but he's going to try and stay ahead and drive as slowly as he can without losing that place and back up Marco Wittmann and Maro Engel and Loic de Vowel and Tom Blumquist into the path of Eckstrom, who is flying after them by 2 seconds a lap in 9th place. On board with Wittmann, this is going to be hugely frustrating for him. Can he find a way through? It should get easier because Muller's tyres surely are going to start to go off, to degrade. But all the time, it's allowing Eckstrom to absolutely charge after them. So Eckstrom's last lap was a 1:29.5. Blomqvist, who he's catching, did a 1:30.8, 1.3 seconds slower. And the gap is 11 seconds, but it's only going to take half a dozen laps for that gap to come down to 0, to nothing. So it could still be a twist in the tail here. Nico Muller, as I say, with a team role to play. There he is in the 51 car. The 4 cars directly behind him are effectively the race leaders. As Gary Paffett, who has been the race leader for the last couple of laps, comes into the pits. So Jamie Green is going to pick up the race lead, but has yet to pit. Mortara will be second. And as I say, Muller, I don't think he's going to come in until he absolutely has to, very late on in the race. He's got a job to hold up here. This is okay stop, but we've seen a lot better. Perhaps a couple of seconds lost there. It's not the worst we've seen, but certainly not the best stop. And where will Gary Paffett come out? Behind Aresta, behind Spangler. Could be on for some good points still. He's been together with Auer for quite a lot of the race, and he's together with him now through turn 1, but Auer gets through. Then René Rast is all over the back of him, coming up to speed the tyres. Can he defend here? No, René Rast is going to try and charge around the outside of him. Rockenfeller gets a good view of this. Out wide goes Paffett. He might lose another place here to Rockenfeller. Rast is through. Rocky trying to go around the outside here. It's a tight squeeze. Breathe in. Rocky is through. Great driving. No contact. Good, clean stuff. And Paffett fought as hard as he could, but he fought fairly. But, of course, he's going to have slightly fresher tyres later on in the race. He knows this. He knows he might be able to come back at them in the final 10 or 15 minutes of the race. He's also got to defend now, though. Another position here. Is he going to lose another one? Yes, maybe 2. Farfus is trying to come around as well. Wickens has got through. Farfus, I think, he's going to squeeze through as well. Not without contact. Farfus forceful. Probably a bit miffed at the way the season is going. And into the pits now comes the number 48 Mercedes of Edo Mortara. Mercedes driver now this year, the Italian, coming in. A frustrating weekend. And he's going to slump down the order now. Jamie Green has stayed out, so he's leading. Muller is the only other one not to pit. And here we've now got Marco Wittmann pushing on. Under investigation, the incident between Farfus and Paffett. We just saw that bit of contact. They're looking at it. They're not necessarily going to penalise either driver, but they are looking at the incident we just saw. 63 Maro Engel then is ahead now of Marco Wittmann. So Marco's frustrations continue here, because he's been stuck behind Nico Muller, trying to get past him, trying to stop Eki coming after them all, and now he's lost a place as well to somebody else that's made a pit stop. So can Maro Engel get a race win here? This is what happened. This is a view back from Wittmann's car, and trying the outside line, then cutting back on the inside as he got on the gas, coming onto the start-finish straight. And Wittmann tried to cover off the line, but Engel was having none of it. And through he comes on the way into turn 1. That was a nicely executed manoeuvre, that. So Maro Engel moves up effectively into the lead of the race once all the pit stops are done. Jamie Green leads for the time being. Muller is second, and into the pits now indeed comes Jamie Green. So it's just Muller left out there, as suspected. Maro Engel has never been on the podium in the DTM. let alone win a race. His best race result has been a 6th place finish. Could he win here today? Was in the DTM in 2009, 2010 and 2011 with Mercedes. Best championship finish was 12th, but he has come back a much stronger driver, having done some sports car racing, having been a winner in Sensational Star on the last lap victory at the Nürburgring 24-hour race in 2016. 3rd in this year's Dubai 24 hours. He's come back a much, much stronger driver. He's been picking up consistently top 10 finishes and points this year. What about a race win? It is on the cards now, but Eki hasn't given up on a podium. He hasn't given up. He never gives up. Let's see what he can do. He's on a charge here. Lap times, 129.2 versus 132s for those 4 cars ahead of him, being balked, being held up by Muller. And Muller now has got Engel all over him. Engel's got to get past here, otherwise Eki is going to be with him with much fresher tyres. I know Eki's got to go through a few other cars first, but Engel knows that this is absolutely critical, this next couple of laps. Trying to use his DRS to get through and gain a place here. And his best opportunity is going to be through the final turn to set up a move into turn 1. But Muller driving smartly here. It's not easy, this, you know. It's not easy to drive and hold people up and make your car wide and defend, but be quick enough to keep them behind you. And he's doing a good job for that man, Matthias Eckstrom, who's 6th now and much, much quicker than the 4 cars ahead of him that pitted early and with fresher tyres on. Right, Engel's got to go for it here. You can see him pulling out of the slipstream as he potentially got the move pulled off. No, he showed his nose going into the final turn. He couldn't get through, and I'm not sure he's close enough into turn 1, even with DRS. He closes up, but he can't get through. Muller holding on to the position into turn 2. The left-hander they go. Dropping down to 2nd gear now, and still no way through. Frustration, this. Wittmann had the frustration. Engel's got it now, but he's got everybody behind him, and he knows the man ahead of him who leads the race has got to make a mandatory pit stop. However, Engel's only got 3 DRSs left. Wittmann has clearly been frustrated because he's only got 1 DRS left. So despite using it all the time, and he's almost out of DRS now, he hasn't been able to find a way through Muller either. I think Matthias Eckstrom might need to buy Nico Muller a beer later on if this brings him up onto a podium position. Maro Engel all over the back of Nico Muller on these older tyres. Nico making that car wide. It's one of the circuits where you are able to defend slightly easier than other more open, wider, faster circuits. But he's still doing a great job for the team here. Much to the annoyance, I'm absolutely sure, of everybody at Mercedes and everybody at BMW. And Audi leads, but it's the Audi in 6th place we need to keep an eye on. Last time around, 129.7, another 1.5 seconds or so taken out of that lead group. He was 11 seconds behind at one point. He's now just 2.8 seconds behind Tom Blumquist in 5th place. Eki is on a charge. What a final 15 minutes we have in store for you. There you can see the Red Bull liveried Audi in the background. You can see them all now. Muller backing everybody up. Wittmann, just with the 1 DRS left as well, is going to struggle to keep his place. This could be the move that gets Maro Engel his first ever race victory in DTM. But Matthias Eckstrom might have something to say about this. What might help Engel is that you've got Duval in that group as well. Another Audi to try and block. It's a clever move, that, which started at the final turn, and he finally squeezed through, and he knew he had to do it on the way into turn 1 a few laps ago. Here is the battle for the lead of the race. Muller's going to drop out of it once he pits, but when will he pit? Probably the last lap at this rate. And how far up the order can Eki get? Now he's with them. The 11-second gap in the space of, what, 5 or 6 laps has come down to 0. He's almost with Tom Blomqvist now. And still got 11 laps worth of DRS to use, more than enough. Duval's got 12. He's in the mix as well for a good podium finish here, Loic Duval. Loic Duval is the only driver in the field that hasn't yet scored any points in this season's DTM. He's a rookie driver. We know what a strong driver the Frenchman is from his other exploits in other championships. But could the first points come with a podium finish here for Loic? There he is in the number 77, blue and red Audi Sport Team Phoenix car. Teammate to Mike Rockenfeller, the 2013 champion. Unsurprisingly, Muller stays out. Taking one for the team, I think this is called. Right, Eki has caught them, but catching and passing are two different things here at the Moscow Raceway. But if anybody can do it, it's him. And what about De Resta as well, who's got great pace here in the race? The Scotsman on a charge. It's his best grid position of the year. Can he now find a way through and get another podium finish this year? A win might be out of the cards, but a podium is very much on the cards for the 2010 champion, Paul De Resta. That would be his 30th podium if he can make it there. There he is in the white number 3 Mercedes. So Eki's caught up, but this is a lap now that he's been stuck behind Tom Blomqvist. And what will help these 4 drivers that have made their pit stops, or at least most of them, is if they can stay within a second of each other, they can use their own DRS, really as a defensive mechanism to keep the quicker cars with the fresher tyres of Eckstrom and De Resta behind them. Right, sit and enjoy the box seats if you are here watching the race on TV, or if you're here as a team member watching. They've done their job. Now they're going to see how this unfolds. It's going to be a fascinating final 12 minutes of the race. Nico Muller backing them up. Maro Engel getting increasingly frustrated, keeping an eye on Matthias Eckstrom and Paul De Resta in the background. Eki gets very close to the tail of Tom Blomqvist's BMW now, coming into the final turn. He's got loads of DRS to use. He pulls out of the slipstream, and Eki is through already. Easy move, he's gone through. So he's picked off 1 place. He's ahead of Blomqvist. Eckstrom now up into the top 5. Next target for Eki is going to be Loic Duval, an Audi driver. That might be a bit easier. We'll see. If you're Audi, you know that your best chance of winning the Drivers' Championship this year, at the moment, of those two, is definitely with Eckstrom, isn't it? René Rast, of course, leads, but René is down in 10th place at the moment. So here he comes. And Duval's he's through already, isn't he? That wasn't, so not through already. That's Eki coming through here. Now behind Blomqvist. What happened there? Muller, Engel, and Wittmann still the top 3. Wittmann still just this 1 DRS lap left to run. 11 minutes left on the clock. Duval's got all of his DRSs left to use. He's been pretty smart about this, even though he's, I think, been close enough to use it. And then Blomqvist ahead of Eckstrom and De Resta. Thought he was through. It wasn't the case. He's back, and he's back possibly having to defend here from Paul De Resta next lap through. We know how good he is, though, on the brakes. Matthias Eckstrom on the way into the last corner. Here's a move. Loic Duval is about to lose a place. Is he? Yes! Sent out wide, coming through the last turn of Blomqvist. Watch for Eki in the number 5 car. Can he come through and gain a place? Yet Loic Duval won't fight too hard, so he gets one this time for sure on the way into the first turn. And Duval gets a bit wide again, a bit scruffy coming out of the corner. Paul De Resta having a look at the inside in the background. De Resta goes through. Contact between them, but De Resta goes through in the Mercedes. So on the back foot all the way through the first part of that lap was Loic Duval. Trying to have to catch his breath now and get back onto this. So Muller stays out. Engel second. Wittmann. Oh, and then Paul De Resta is slowing. Trouble for him. Oh dear. Was that resulting in the contact? That's under investigation now. And De Resta has got through. Is it a puncture? Is it something else? The car slowing from what was looking like a great result for him. Just got this in the background. Loic Duval went out wide. De Resta had a look at the inside. The door opened. Then he really went for it into the turn. There was the contact. Duval out wide. It looked like it was all done and dusted. Well, you can completely understand why De Resta went for the move. There was the opportunity. They don't come along too often. He's getting a warning for that as well, but most important thing is that it's race over effectively for Paul De Resta. It looks like he's headed back for the pits. Has already dropped down out of the top 10, out of the points. Lots of incidents being investigated then. 29 laps on the bucks. Nico Muller leads, but he's got to go in the pits. And look at this in the background. René Rast trying to squeeze up the inside of Lucas Sauer. He does it. Bit of contact, almost into the wall. Rast absolutely determined to get through. And these two are fighting for the championship lead, don't forget. So there's a lot at stake, even though they're not battling for podium positions. But Rockenfeller's got the best seat in the house just behind them as well. It's for 7th place. Again, apologies if I might be talking over the radio, but not getting that through. Only in very, very low detail through the headset here. But what a battle this is turning into. Engel trying to show his nose at every corner. He knows what's coming. He's got Wittmann, Blumquist, but more worryingly, Eckstrom in that queue behind him now. 8 minutes to go. Ecky's going to have to start pulling off some moves pretty soon, and he's lining it up, isn't he? On Tom Blumquist. Trying to have another go, to get through. Muller's really backed the pace up, 1 minute 31s. I mean, you've got Jamie Green down in 11th place doing 129.2s. 2 seconds a lap quicker than these guys. So it's going to be a long, long queue. It's going to get bigger and bigger, this snake, as we get towards the end of the race, because Muller is driving as slowly as possible and frustrating everybody. Look at them, they're almost together like they were at the start of the race. You can almost see the entire field down this back straight. You've got Loic de Vowel coming under fire again. Lucas Auer trying to take the speed around the outside on René Rast. This is going to be interesting. Mike Rockenfeller on the tail of Loic de Vowel as well. They've all caught Loic up. His race is going from bad to worse in the last couple of laps. René Rast stays at the head of the queue. Lucas Auer tucked in behind him, remains 8th. de Vowel 9th. Rockenfeller was in the points. Jamie Green's trying to get into the points. Jamie Green on a charge here, trying to come up the order and get some more valuable championship points. He's on the tail now of Rocky, on board with Rocky, trying to desperately hang on to this place. But Jamie Green is coming and has got some pretty reasonable tyres on the car as well. The rest has stayed out. But a lap down, this has gone back out, but the car maybe is just trying to limp it back home to see if he can maybe, with a bit of luck, pick up something, some points. But the rest is basically a lap down now in the number 3 car at the head of the queue. He's going to let everybody through luck, so Muller, 51, leading the race, comes through. And DeResta gets on the brakes and stays well out of the way. Wittmann and Blomqvist are now out of DRS, hence their names and numbers have gone red on your graphic on the left-hand side of the picture. What's Eki got left? 7. 7 for Spangler as well, catching up this group. He's almost onto the tail of the group, in fact, Bruno Spangler, the driver that a long time ago now, remember, started the race from pole position. Here we go. This is a move on the way to the final turn. Eki has been so good on the brakes into this final turn, and he keeps the speed coming out of the corner. And then Jamie Green getting up into the points with a move up the inside of Mike Rockenfeller into the same corner. And again, Muller staying ahead of Engel at the head of the field. So, picking them off one by one is Matthias Eckstrom. He's essentially on the podium now because the race leader has still got to go into the pits. So he's 4th, but he's at least going to get a podium out of this as it stands. Can he pick off Wittmann and can he pick off Engel to get his first victory of the season? With the championship leader, René Rast, back in 7th place. 6 DRS left. Wittmann has just used his last one up. Engel 2 and Blomqvist already out. Might start to fall back into the clutches of Bruno Spangler now. This is a fascinating race. A replay of this. Beautiful move. He had to pull back onto the track to avoid the bollard there, the marker, but he did it. And in fairness, he was just about given the room by Blomqvist. It's been a titanic battle between these two for the last few laps. Blomqvist probably didn't expect to be battling for points when he had to start the race from the back of the grid after this penalty in qualifying. But it might turn into one of his best race results of the season, this. Now, these two Red Bull liveried cars, the BMW and the Audi. Wittmann ahead of Eckstrom. Eckstrom lining up a move. Here he comes. The line is covered. He's got DRS. There's no DRS for Wittmann to defend with. He goes around the outside. There's a bit of contact. Still holding the inside line. Here is Wittmann. There's changes behind as well as Spangler moves ahead of Blomqvist. It's all going to kick off at turn 1 here with 4.5 minutes to go in the race. Can Eki get through on Wittmann? Wittmann defending absolutely solidly here. Keeps him behind. Important move that. Eki tried everything. He threw the kitchen sink at the German driver. But Marco Wittmann is not a 2-time champion for nothing. And he kept another 2-time champion behind him. All good news, that, for Mercedes, of course. BMW's fighting out. It's good news for Mauro Engel and the Mercedes just ahead. Trying the outside line, full commitment here. Tried to come across. No, 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 says Marco Wittmann. It's my line. You are not mugging me around the outside. And Marco then got a better run coming out onto the straight. That's why he was able to, with that DRS, to defend his position up at turn 1. He's giving it full beans, Matthias Eckstrom. He knows, as well as anybody out there, every single point this year is going to count in this championship. Every single place. You'd hate to lose this championship by a point and then think, oh, what if I just tried that move back at Moscow? What if I'd had a go? That 1 point could have given me the title. It's going to be that close this year. He's a fighter, is Matthias Eckstrom, but Wittmann at the moment is his equal. Eckstrom with fresher tyres as well, don't forget. The drivers ahead of him, including Marco Wittmann, have all got really old tyres. Here we go again then, down this long back straight. Finally, Nico Muller goes in, so this is the battle for the lead. Engel versus Wittmann versus Eckstrom, and then down the back of the field as well, Rastus starting to come in the mix down the inside. Jamie Green is about to come barrelling past Tom Blumquist as well. Rast got him into the corner, out of the corner and onto the straight. Green gets him, Blumquist loses another couple of positions. Struggling a bit now, the BMW, with these older tyres. Job done, Muller. Vowel and Paffett under investigation. Those two a little bit further down the order. And Paul de Resta coming into the pits again, just beneath the commentary box. Frustrating race, promised quite a lot at one point. Hasn't delivered anything, I'm afraid, for the Scotsman. On board with Lucas Auer there, who's in 9th place. Robert Wickens is in the final points paying position in 10th. Paffett just outside the points in 11th, where you don't want to be in a race. If you're 11th, you might as well be 18th, because there's no points available. So Gary, I'm sure, if he gets a chance, will have a go. And he is right behind Robert Wickens as well. Both of the Mercedes, another Mercedes of Auer in front. 4 Mercedes squeezed together there. Reported to the stewards, the incident between Duval and Paffett, so that one's going to run and run. Duval has really been in the wars here. And again, a race which promised potentially a podium at one point, certainly points. It's going to result in nothing for Loic Duval. He's down in 15th place now and struggling. Carrying, I suspect, a bit of damage to the car as well. Maro Engel then, looking for his first win. Almost looking like they're going into the pit lane here of Wittmann and Eckstrom. What about Jamie Green? He's gone down the inside of René Rast. Blomqvist having to defend from Mike Rockenfeller. And now Eckstrom's got his foot in the door here. For second place, he's through. Ecky through. 1 minute 12 seconds left on the clock. 55 minutes plus 1 lap. He might just be too late to get the win, but he's up to second place now. He's the best part of 2 seconds, though, behind Maro Engel. Is he that much quicker? And even if he can catch him, how many chances is he going to get to pass Engel for the lead of the race? Engel out of DRS. Eckstrom's got 3 left, but he's got to catch up first, and time is running out. What a race this has been. Engel, Eckstrom, Wittmann, the top 3. Spangler's back up to 4th place now. Green, he's absolutely on a charge here. He's having a great second half of the race. And Jamie Green in 5th place, with René Rast in the top 6, looking for more good points, the championship leader. It's been a real dogfight out there. This is a brilliant race. Who says you can't overtake around the Moscow Raceway? There might not be that many places, but they are making the most of this. Jamie Green in the orange Audi there, trying to get past Bruno Spangler's number 7 BMW. They're all queuing up to the back of Wittmann now, who is flat out of DRS, and he's going to be a bit of a sitting duck here, but Marco's been driving really well, given how old his tyres are, and now he's out of DRS and has been for a few laps now. But it's going to be a long couple of laps this for him. Clock is ticked down, so they're going to get the last lap board next time around. What's the gap going to be between the 2 leaders? It's coming down for sure. What about the final place on the podium? A big lock-up, a big lunge here from Jamie Green down the inside of 2. Out wide goes Wittmann, and it's going to be Bruno Spangler that has the better run going into the first turn. Bruno Spangler through on Jamie Green. He goes forward 1, he goes backwards 1. Jamie Green down to 4th. Wittmann down the back of the group now. And Rast in the mix as well, getting more positions. He goes at the inside of Jamie Green. Ready, Rast gaining a place. Absolutely breathtaking stuff here. That was a huge lunge from Jamie Green. Utterly determined stuff. It almost worked. It didn't quite. But it has ruined the chances of Marco Wittmann getting onto the podium. You're on board with Marco now, and he's at the back of that queue. And down into, 6th place. 7th for Blomqvist. Good result from the back of the grid. But Maro Engel here is almost home and dry. The checkered flag is being unfurled. Half a lap to hang on to this for Engel. Eckstrom is coming. He's got the gap from 2 seconds down to about 7 or 8 tenths of a second. He might just get 1 chance going into the last turn, and he might just take it. But I wonder if another lap he would have done it. I wonder if he might just run out of space, out of time here. It's going to be nervous, though, for everybody at Mercedes. It's going to be nervous times for Maro Engel. Hold your breath. What can he do? Is he a bit too far back? Spangler with a battling performance to the podium. Ready, Rast with a battling performance to 4th. Jamie Green 5th. Wittmann 6th, but coming under pressure from Rockenfeller, who is right behind him now in 7th place. Ecky's not quite close enough. He closes up. It's going to be a real sprint to the checkered flag here. The flag is out, and for the first time, Maro Engel wins in the DTM. Eckstrom 2nd, Spangler on the podium in 3rd. René Rast comes home in 4th place. Green 5th, Hitman 6th. Rocky got through on Blumquist to take 7th at the last corner. Our 9th, Wickens 10th, and I'm going for a lie down.
Thank you so much, guys. Incredible. Incredible. Thank you so much, guys. Well done. Maximum pickup. Go for maximum pickup. Copy that. Awesome. Incredible, guys. Well done. Okay, I mean, we were lucky, absolutely. But we've had our fair share of bad luck already this year, so... Oh, man, this is awesome, guys.
Great to hear the reaction over the team radio there. Maro Engel and his engineer and the team. We were lucky, says Maro, but you know what? We've had our fair share of bad luck.
Well done. Well done. Can't wait to see you all when we get back.
Wow, what a race. Maro Engel, in his 52nd attempt, takes a race victory in the DTM. And yes, I suppose a bit of luck, but if you go for that strategy, you go for the early pit stop, give yourself a chance. Safety car helped, but he still had to battle his way past Marco Wittmann. That he did. And he couldn't get past Nico Muller, who really gave everybody else a big chance, including Eckstrom. And Eckstrom, with that 2nd place finish, as I say, he's got to go and buy Nico Muller, who finished down in 16th place. Quite a big beer now, I think. What a race we've been treated to here at the Moscow Raceway. A few incidents that are going to be looked at after the race as well, I think. But it's Maro Engel, no doubt about it, that wins the race by just under 0.4 of a second from Matthias Eckstrom. Bruno Spangler on the podium, and René Rast in 4th place. Wow, Mercedes and Uli Fritz are down with Verena after a great victory.
Sunny skies for Mercedes-Benz. And Uli, I was hoping to see a big smile on your face. Congratulations, that was really phenomenal. And the first victory for Maro Engel.
Absolutely great. I mean, after his comeback to DTM, of course he was lucky today, but I think the guys from Audi did everything to make his life quite difficult today, which I have to say was not particularly fair, but obviously that's the name of the game. We have to live with it. But first of all, congrats to Maro. I think it was a brilliant drive. He just deserved it, and I'm mega happy for him.
Great, thank you very much, Uli Fritz. Back to you.
Well, if it had been 55 minutes plus 2 laps, I wonder if Eki might just have won that, but it wasn't. And it's Mercedes, and it's Maro Engel that win. Engel with his maiden victory. He becomes the latest fan of the Moscow Raceway, and you can see what it means to the team. They come in with the heaviest car, Mercedes, in both days, on the back foot. Struggled a bit in qualifying most of the cars, but Engel winning the race, and they had some good results yesterday. Lucas Auer, their key championship contender, up in the top 6. Gary Paffett had a pretty decent 7th place finish in yesterday's race as well. And there you can see there's just 1 point in the championship, and it's Eckstrom that moves back into the championship lead. 113 to Rastus 112, Lucas Auer in 3rd. And Jamie Green, who got really stuck in that last couple of laps, is back up to 4th place in the championship. Always mega to see a driver winning their first race in a championship. It means so much. He's been a race winner in lots of other categories, but never in the DTM. FIA GT World Cup champion, Nürburgring 24-hour winner a couple of years ago, as I said. On the podium, the Dubai 24 hours. Raced back in British Formula 3 back in the day, 10 years ago. He was the runner-up in the British Formula 3 Championship behind Marco Asma, driving for Trevor Carlin's team. 29 years of age, from Munich, and he has arrived as a DTM winner. And you can see exactly what it means to the driver and to the teams. So that means we've now got 16 of the 18 drivers on the grid this year are DTM race winners. Norbert Haug pats him on the shoulder. Eckstrom is pleased for him as well. Great battling performance from Eki. If anybody was going to have a go and be able to get through that queue at the end of the race, it was going to be him. And he almost did it, 0.3 of a second. Remember, he was 11 seconds back with about 20 minutes of the race to go. But what a charge for Matthias Eckstrom. A day he'll never forget. And a great result as well for Bruno Spangler, who was up and down the order like a yo-yo in that race, but on the podium, having started on pole. So a super slow-mo of your latest DTM race winner, Maro Engel, in the Silver File Energy Mercedes AMG Motorsport car. And that, the reaction once he got back to the pits. A leap off the car. Physically demanding and draining driving these cars for nearly an hour. But when you've just had a win, you fill with energy and joy. And you're able to perform somersaults and leaps like that. But for Eki, the most important thing is, big smile on the face, back in the championship lead. As I said yesterday, 10 years since he last won it. He's been a contender in the time since then. Can he do it again? He leads the championship. He still hasn't won a race this year. Doesn't matter. Nobody ever looks at how many races you won in the season. All they look at is whether or not you won the championship. René Rast down to second place, but not bad for the rookie. He's led twice this year, and he's still only a point behind Matthias Eckstrom. As a rookie, ever gone so well in the DTM. I know he's done a few races last year, and I know he's very experienced, but terrific effort this season by René Rast. He says nobody's expecting me to win the championship. I'm not so sure. I think more and more people expect it the more weekends we get under our belt. There then the championship standings. Rocky with a heroic weekend in 5th place in the standings now. It was worth coming. It was worth the effort. Well done to the team that got him here. Maxime Martin is the one that really slips back down to 6th place in the championship standings. So if you're here as a Mercedes fan with a Mercedes flag, there are plenty of them, you go home happy today. Huge grin on the face of Maro Engel, who is going to climb the stairs and make his way to the top step of the podium. Almost winning the race though, Matthias Eckstrom. He's the championship leader. He's speaking to Verena.
Yes, I'm just going to try to interrupt. They're still talking to Bruno. Eki, can I just quickly interrupt? Because I just want to say congratulations, because that was a pretty tough race, and now you're leading the championship, so you've got to be absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very exciting race, very entertaining, I must say. Especially from inside my car, it was a lot of action, so it's quite nice to do something like this once in a while where you do have something to do. It's just not the boring driving and doing details, so it's more like wild and crazy. So it was quite enjoyable, I must say.
And apart from the fact that it was enjoyable, also looking at the championship, it's fantastic you're leading it.
Yeah, I mean, we came here with the lead, so going home with the lead is nice. I don't know what the point score is, but today that is not so important. It's more important to have a good race.
All right, thank you very much, and enjoy the moment on the podium. Thank you, Eki, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Great to get the reaction of Eki. And you can tell there, he's just still, even after all these years, and he started DTM back in 2001, he's still just a huge enthusiast of racing. He loves racing. He loves the fight. He loves going wheel to wheel. And you can see he's absolutely in his element when he gets a situation like that, when he's chasing down a pack. All smiles for Maro Engel. All smiles as well for Bruno Spangler, who had, a difficult few years, but finally things seem to be turning around for him. Well, we had the race of the season, I reckon, at the Norris Ring a few weeks ago, but I offer you that race up as a pretty close rival. That was exceptional stuff. And now the crowd is gathered on the circuit, been allowed onto the circuit underneath the podium, and they're about to make a huge racket because our race winner, Maro Engel, is called up onto the top step of the podium for his maiden DTM victory. Winner of the Nürburgring 24-hour in similar exciting circumstances at the very last lap. This time he was the one defending rather than attacking. It'll mean just as much. Matthias Eckstrom, that brilliant charge through, goes onto the second step of the podium. And for BMW, Bruno Spangler. All three brands represented on the podium. In terms of the winning team, though, it's Silver File Energy Mercedes AMG Motorsports, who will pick up the team trophy for very happy chappies on the podium here at the Moscow Raceway. And so, for the second time this weekend, we're going to hear the German national anthem. This time it's for our race winner, Maro Engel. The German national anthem plays out here in Russia. What a fantastic race. And what a great crowd gathered underneath the podium to see Maro Engel lift the winner's trophy. That, I reckon, is going joint top of the trophy cabinet next to his Nürburgring 24-hour silverware. Focused on winning the title this year, though, is Matthias Eckstrom. Sergei Spaninski presenting the winning team trophy. And then it's Roman Rusinov, the Russian racer, that presents the Swede. Yeah, that's all right, he says. I quite like that. That's a well-earned second-place trophy, isn't it? But it's the points he's looking to bag. Mr. Mark Hauser presents Bruno Spangler with his trophy. That's 2 podiums in 2 weekends now, including that win at the Norris Ring last time out. Can't keep a good man down. And Bruno is very much back up there, where he really belongs, on the podium. So I'll now pose for a few photos. They're already getting ready with the champagne. I think Eki might win this race, the race with the champagne. He's already started. Huge roar of approval from the teams below, from the crowd below. And what a way to start the second half of the season. 10 races down, 8 to go, 4 events remain. There you go, I told you Eki would win the champagne race. In fairness, he's had a bit more practice than Maro Engel on DTM champagne duties. But Maro does not care. He's getting sticky, he's getting champagne in his eyes, but it tastes sweeter than ever. What a race that turned into. Maro Engel taking the race victory from 17th on the grid. New record for the season in that. Beating Paul de Rastus 13th to 1st at the Hungaroring. And a word for Tom Blumquist, who could well have started that race on pole position. But actually, maybe it worked out better in a bizarre way that he started at the back, because that probably changed the strategy. He was one of the ones to pit early on, and he got himself 8th. Just struggled a bit at the end on the tyres. But slightly bittersweet weekend for Tom, but at least he's picked up a few points and an 8th place finish there. Lucas Auer, another championship contender, 9th. Really battling performance. We saw some terrific moves, didn't we, from Lucas Auer in that race. But they might just be points that count at the end of the season. It's these 7th and 8th and 9th place finishes that tot up and add up the points that probably make the difference at the end of the season. Nobody's going to dominate race wins. Nobody's going to dominate podiums this season. It's going to be about the consistency. And the man that's got that in abundance so far this year is Matthias Eckstrom, which is why, by a point, he leads the championship standings. Savouring every moment on that podium is Maro Engel, and enjoying the podium too after a really strong drive, Bruno Spangler.
That was a very exciting champagne fight up here. Well, congratulations. It was a tough race for you, that's for sure, but you managed 3rd place. Are you happy about that?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I'm a bit mixed because I was starting from pole. We had a great car in quali. Thanks for the team for that. In the race, unfortunately, after 4 laps, I already noticed that the Audis behind me were a lot quicker, and I was just trying to stay in front as much as I could. But they had just much better pace over the race distance. So I did what I could, and then came the safety car, and I knew that it was going to be tough. And then I just did my best, tried to catch up. And then I saw that we were catching up the cars in front quite quickly. And I had fought as much as I could to be on a podium. At the end, I'm happy to be on a podium. For sure, I wanted to win, but podium is also great for the whole team. The hard work they did, I mean, it's great. And congratulations to Maro. He did a great job, his first DTM victory.
Absolutely. All right, well, thank you very much. And I'm just going to try to grab Maro. Sorry to interrupt you. I know you're posing for the picture. You've got to be absolutely proud and absolutely happy. It's your maiden victory in the DTM. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels absolutely amazing. I'm over the moon, and thank you to the team for, first of all, obviously a risky but an awesome strategy. For sure, we were lucky with the safety car, but we played a little bit on that. We knew we had a quick race car and a long one, which could go very long on the tires. And yeah, it was a long race in the end behind Nico Muller. Just had to be so patient. I couldn't overtake him even with the RS on the straight. So I tried everything, but I knew I was in the best position because he still had to pit. So I'm over the moon.
And it's also got to be said, I mean, you said you were a bit lucky, yeah, but you did a really overwhelming overtaking maneuver against Whitman. I mean, that was fantastic.
Yeah, at that point I knew that if I could get past Whitman, I could put myself into a position to win the race. Obviously, I was hoping to get past Muller a little bit quicker as well, but he was a tough cookie. Yeah, no, I knew that. I was patient initially. I had the pace to stay with him, took care of my tires, and then used DRS at the right moment and managed to get past him.
I would have loved to read your mind, what you were thinking, how frustrating it is to be staying behind the tough cookie.
Yeah, it was really frustrating because he was slowing down in the corners in the back of the circuit to allow the guys from the back to catch, and it's tough, when you're behind, you're trying everything, but he had nothing to lose. I had it all to lose. I couldn't risk to damage the car either. So, but in the end, it all paid off, and massive thank you to my guys, to my team, to Mercedes-AMG, and to all the sponsors, because yeah, this is one I'll remember for sure.
Oh, I'm so sure. So congratulations. Thank you very much, Maro Engel, and back to you.
Thanks very much, Frida. Great to hear from Maro. Terrific and well-deserved victory. Yes, Nico Muller might be getting a beer off Matthias Eckstrom as we see some highlights of that fantastic race. There's going to be a lot of highlights as well. But Nico might just have to hide from everybody else. Be paying for blood. But, had a job to do. And who's to say that in his position, in the team's position, everybody else wouldn't have done exactly the same thing. It led to a very, very exciting finish. We saw some terrific moves. Marco Wittmann battling away. This was Ecke on Wittmann. Wittmann had run out of DRS, but he defended doggedly in the race in the closing stages. This was Ecke getting fully alongside going into the last turn. This was a lunge from Jamie Green from a mile back. He got through, but he couldn't stop the car in time to avoid a tiny rub there. Well, quite a hard rub actually with Marco Wittmann. Big move on the brakes, locked up, drifted wide there into Wittmann, who was sent out wide and then lost more places as a result with Spangler. That was really the move that helped Spangler to get himself up onto the podium. And that is the moment that Maro Engel became a DTM race winner. Back to Verena to wrap up what's been a brilliant weekend.
Thank you very much. It certainly has been an absolutely brilliant weekend here at the Moscow Raceway. And wow, we've got Matthias Eckstrom leading the championship again. And we're certainly looking forward to the next race weekend, which will be in Zandvoort in 4 weeks. We're very thrilled, and hopefully you'll join us there. So see you then. Here are the highlights. Do enjoy.